Hello everybody, I'm Raphael Perry and it's time for some final thoughts on Bloodsword, Book 3, for Demon's Claw. And also, I think to show off the 7 in 1 a little bit, because we didn't really get to fully experience that encounter. Now, I'm not sure entirely what I want to say here, because I've had a great many years of familiarity with the third book. And sorry, I'm just getting comfortable. Oh yeah, that's good. That's much better. And so I've had many years to mull over my thoughts about it, and not that many to work out how I want to express those thoughts, because it's been a personal, enjoyable experience, one that I've occasionally shared with friends. So let's see. Firstly, the book does a very good feel at evoking the sort of theme, the feel, the vibe of an Arabian Nights type setting. Even if some of the elements, like the 7 in 1, being from a foreign island where there are bamboo shoots growing, the priests of the Magian cult of Apara, which turns out to be one of the sort of Arabian countries, and I didn't need to think it was quite so far east as I possibly suspected. But and then of course there's the Knights Capella, who have come in and invaded the place and are occupying territory as part of the Crusades. I like the fact that the adventure does not take an ideological stance on the crusade itself, and we do get to see things from multiple sides. We don't get to see too much, we don't get to see a load of people complaining about how badly treated they are, and in fact they seem to be treated quite well by the Capellas, who act as local police and lawgivers and lawkeepers, but who do hold slightly lower opinions of the local Ta'ashim. Additionally, we get to see how our heroes are ignorant of Ta'ashim culture. And this isn't done in a particularly hostile or overt way. There's a little bit of fun poking, a little bit of, oh, you didn't know that. Yeah, no, this isn't a servant, this isn't a slave, this is other things. And of course, it's an Arabian Nights adventure, so we get a genie, absolutely. We get the wooden flying horse, we get the rock, we get snippets of stories similar to the 7 Voyages of Sinbad the Sailor. Again, the original story, not the assortment of films that have been made. Most of which aren't that faithful to the original stories, to be honest. And then we also get magic, we get the demons, we get the Hatuli. The Hatuli seems a little more sort of African in terms of concept, especially its name. I'm not certain though. And we get the tie-ins with Book 1 with Icon the Ungodly, the tie-ins and with Book 2, because we're finding the last part of the Bloodsword. The story is beginning to come together and become more coherent. And while this is... Oh, that's something interesting as well, right? The Northerners speak of God as the god of their religion, and the Ta'ashim speak of the god they worship as God as well. And, it's like, yeah, different faces of the same faith. Not a problem. It's society and culture, and I like that. While the heroes are very much of the new sort of Christian faith, and they're working to prevent the apocalypse, the Ta'ashim faith is more like a branch of the same faith than an entirely separate religion of its own. And that helps it feel like a coherent world. The characters all live together in the same world, and the societies and cultures get along. The crusade was a while ago, the place is settled. They haven't just recently come in and invaded. It's been, goodness knows how many years, and things are getting along reasonably well, now that all the troubles are over with. Now, looking at the narrative, there is a certain strong structure and skeleton to it. You know, we start with finding somewhere to stay for the night, then going to see the great sage Emeritus of Quadrille the next day. Then we go to see Prince Sazurian, want to go to meet Hunguk, the Pirate King. Now that's a fun combat encounter, but one that you basically can't win without really rigged dice or incredibly good luck. But that's okay, because it's supposed to be a heavily avoidable fight. In fact, there's 3 versions of it. Depending on how badly you failed to avoid it is another matter. And from there you get the genie. Genie takes you to see Prince Sazurian at Hakbad. You may or may not stop off along the way to help the priest. I can't remember his name. But essentially, what you get from that is the Magian's Wand, which will help you defeat the 7-in-1. Especially if you don't have the Orb of Fire from Book 2. And if you still have the Orb of Fire from Book 2 this time, that means you didn't use it to face the Ice Lacken, or the other time in Book 2 when it would be incredibly useful and negate a fight as well. Oh, and there's another, yes. Also, when one of the heroes is dead, you can, instead of using the amber tinderbox to light the candles, you can use the fire orb. So the Orb of Fire is a very useful but pretty much single-use item that can be used in multiple books. Kind of reminds me of the Fire Sphere from Book 3 of Lone Wolf, actually. Except that was not a single-use item and it could be used in a few different places. I should try and get Lone Wolf on the channel at some point soon, because I recorded an intro and I didn't like it. I wasn't happy with the quality of it, and I thought I'd do it again at some point, and then I put it off to do some other things, and then Bloodsword started, and so Lone Wolf has been waiting, but should not wait much longer. I mean, this year is the 40th anniversary of the first Lone Wolf book being published. I think it was, last month maybe? So I should probably get on that reasonably soon, I think. Now, while we have... Oh yeah, and after going to Hakbad, of course, it's escaping the demons who can kill you before you get a chance to escape. And that's literally like death by initiative, luck of the dice. Wish yourself good luck. Then there's the dungeon crawl. The Hatuli will help significantly with that, but you can do it without the Hatuli completely. If you take wrong turns, there are some nasty death traps, but not every wrong turn is an absolute... No, it pretty much is. Every wrong turn is a nasty death trap. Not completely fatal, but very nasty, and they will mess you up. Some of them are absolutely fatal. So it very much has the feel of a one true path kind of dungeon. But things like the jackal-headed monster, you can defeat it without using the tuning fork. Yeah, you can fight your way through the iron golem, the jackal-headed monster, and then get to the 7-in-1. By which point you are probably bearing some pretty serious injuries. The jackal-headed monster on its own isn't that dangerous, but it has the ability to add some damage to what the iron golem did. So let's roll back to the beginning. One thing I always liked about this adventure was the very first section, trying to find a bed for the night. Let's get one option out of the way first. If you follow the sage's advice, you go straight to Emeritus of Quadrille, stay there overnight, see him in the morning, skip all the other early game content. It is the wisest and safest option, but not the most fun. It's also not the most helpful. If you follow the enchanter's advice, you go see Psyche, and we explored that. It is by far the most dangerous choice, but also one of the most entertaining. We have the opportunity to discover that she is the sister of Icon the Ungodly, our arch nemesis from the first book, who indeed returns later on in this adventure, and so that foreshadows his appearance quite nicely. We don't want it. We don't want to stay at her place overnight, as she will summon a demon and try to kill us. If we defeat her, we get to stay the night at her place and search for a few magic treasures and some nasty traps in the morning. And that's how we can get the golden mirror that we didn't have later on in the adventure. Sorry, yawning. I had a sleepy weekend. If we take her advice and agree for someone to be hypnotized, she gives them a drink to make them... Well, she says it's a drink to make it easier to hypnotize them and put them in a special trance. It paralyzes them, and then she goes for them with a dagger and tries to kill them. If we have the trickster, we can pretend to drink the drink. And if we have the sage, we recognize that it's paralyzing poison. If the warrior or the enchanter agrees to take it, they have no such luck. If we follow the warrior's advice, we go to visit the Knight's Capella, and that section's actually quite well written. We get to meet a commanding officer. They look after us, but, you know, they are proper crusaders. They don't lavish us with many fine, fancy things. They're just like, no, there's an empty cell, go sleep in that, see you in the morning. You know, it's humble. It's got a spiritual feel to it. You also get to experience their attitude towards the locals. And then in the morning they send you off to see Emeritus of Quadrille. And if we follow the trickster's advice, he has 2 contacts. Depending on how badly this goes, we can be sent off to stay the night with the Knight's Capella, or get sent to the hostel, which is, of course, the 5th option that we wanted. However, it's also possible for things to go so badly that the heroes can be arrested and thrown in prison by the Knight's Capella and have to try and escape, at which point the spell of immediate deliverance is incredibly useful. There are other ways out of prison in case we don't have it, but they are harder. And while trying to hide from the Knight's Capella and keep a low profile, we end up at Emeritus of Quadrilles. If we go to visit Psyche and we flee from her tower and do not stay the night there and return to town, and then follow the trickster's advice, the only option we are given is being redirected to the Knight's Capella, so we miss the opportunity to go to the hostel. Whereas the sage's advice still takes us straight to Emeritus of Quadrilles. The warriors still takes us to the Knight's Capella. And the option to take nobody's advice and to go stay at the hostel is only available if we have failed one option already, which means that going to Psyche's first is one of the best choices. Now, while the trickster can also send us to the hostel, at the hostel, if we don't question the host's tariff correctly, we can end up getting into a fight with some dock workers, and then the Knights Capella turn up to sort it out, and we can get arrested, we can try and bribe them, we can all sorts of things, and arrested, goes straight to prison again. So the whole matrix of events, a whole little web of interconnected events that all lead back to Emeritus the Sage. Now, staying at the hostel gets us the wooden peg to control the flying horse, but also the command phrase to stop the Dendon from sinking our boat. Now, after we've seen the Sage and the Prince Sasurian, we want to find our way to the ship of Hunguk, the Pirate King. And we can fly there on the rock, the big bird. It does not know the way to Sesame Street, and it will drop us off at the island near where, the island where the genie's bottle is going to wash up after we've been on the pirate ship. We can fly there on a magic carpet from Book 2, which is somewhat challenging to get hold of. Not because of... Right, you need to fly on the carpet with the evil wizard, and then there's a certain way of getting him off it before he really messes you up. But then you have to do a much more dangerous journey to get to the ice lacken, and it can be nastier. So the chances of us having the flying carpet for Book 3 here are slim. Failing the flying carpet, and the big bird, we can fly on the wooden horse, or we can go and buy a boat from the fisherman. However, if we fly by any of those three means, we do not get the opportunity to buy the wooden doll and steal the Hatuli, which means we are doing the dungeon at the end blind and can blunder into a whole lot of death traps. Which is fine if we've played the book before, we know the end dungeon quite well, or if we just fancy taking a few risks and taking quite a lot of damage, potentially. The section on Hunguk's pirate ship, it's a timed event with a very generous time limit. We'd have to go the wrong way and explore everything for that time limit to expire if we... so we would have to waste a lot of time for the time limit to expire if the enchanter is casting the precognition spell. Without the precognition spell, we would still have to explore a lot for time to run out. So the odds are that we're just going to go on, nick the gems, and do a runner before Hunguk returns, or before the ship leaves this earthly realm and sails on into legend and we become part of its trapped, cursed crew forever. I do like... My favourite way for it to play out is for Hunguk to arrive and catch us just as we're leaving, so that we don't have to fight him. But his combat sections are pretty epic. His stat block is overpowering, exceedingly powerful, but his entrances and monologues are very well written. He's a fun character, and he deserves to be part of the story. So it's nice in a way that, in theory, your first few times playing the book, you'll get to meet him, get chopped up into bits by his two axes and go, how could we do that better? And you'll try it a few different ways, maybe experience a few different versions of the fight, and then learn that actually discretion is the better part of valor. This is a repeating pattern, actually, from Book 1 and Book 2, where there were some particularly challenging fights, such as Skrymir the Giant in Book 1. In Book 2, we had the Ice Lacken, the Guardian Beast at the Gate, and a few other fights that were pretty much completely avoidable. And in Book 3 here, that pattern is reinforced even more heavily. with extremely deadly, highly avoidable fights, like Holmguk the Pirate King, the 7-in-1, the Iron Golem, and to a lesser extent of death by initiative, the 3 demons in Hackbad, who can just kill you before you get to run away. That's like the Guardian Beast at the Gates in Book 2, but because there's 3 of them and they can each be attacking different people, and they are far more potent in terms of combat ability. At least with the Guardian Beast in Book 2, we could defend in time before they rushed us. The demons are just really nasty. And then, of course, we get to do the dungeon crawl, and after potentially 3 fights with limited recovery time, we get to face Icon the Ungodly. Now, the limited recovery time is an interesting thing, because the restriction of 1 healing roll per non-combat section was added in the new books and does not exist in the old books. In the old books, it's if you're not in a fight, you can do it as many times as you like. And odds are, after enough dice rolls, you'll recover eventually. Or at least recover enough until you feel ready to go on. The encounter of Icon the Ungodly is nasty. He again is on 5 dice of damage. A very potent foe. And can mess up the heroes. Remember, old rules, there's no survival if you win the fight. You need everyone to survive, so you need to play cautiously. Know when to attack and when to defend. You need to try and get a heavy burst of initial damage until your heroes are so badly damaged they have to start defending, and then rely on your enchanter or enchantress to deal the rest of the damage. And I don't mean start defending when 1 hit can kill you. I mean start defending when you're below half health and 2 or 3 hits might kill you. And of course, with Icon, 1 hit can kill you if he rolls really high for damage. Same with the demons, actually. Then we'll get to the 7-in-1, which is a nice fun fight. So, we found the page of parchment, and the sage was able to translate it for us, informing us that the 7-in-1 is 7 enemies in 1. Not just 1 monster. And we got the Magian's Wand, which would allow us to incinerate it on the spot. But in case either of those things did not happen, we can absolutely fight it. And I think I'd like to do that now. Now, interestingly, the 7-in-1 fight starts at section 204, and yes, I did use the word starts. And even more interestingly, the 7-in-1 has a psychic ability of 9 in the old book, but in the new book, a psychic ability of 8. The rest of its abilities are identical. I got spells up here for reference. I got my heroes from last time. They were on full health. Ariadne has the spell of immediate deliverance available. Because we get fair warning that it's approaching at the end of a previous section, I would like to also have a sword thrust spell ready, because she does not know what kind of foe it is, but that it is a foe, a big, nasty, damaging foe, and combat is likely to commence. So, Remy. Remy's a bit stuck here. You can go like that. Oh, map. Yeah. 1 per square, please. We're not... There we go. Right. So Remy moves to there. Brother Kern defends. So Alwyn goes in for the attack with the magic axe. Look, axe chop wood, right? That's a hit. And 2d6 plus 1. 7 damage. The 7-in-1 has no armor, so it goes down to 38 endurance points. Ariadne will attempt to cast her sword thrust spell and probably fail, but she has a good track record. Oh my goodness, there we go. So the sword thrust is 3 dice plus 3, right? Yes. $15. Wonderful. That drops it down to 23 endurance points. And finally, the 7-in-1 will attack. It misses. Okay. Remy comes in here to attack. We are attempting to deal as much damage as possible. Misses. Brother Kern will go in to attack as well. Just piling on the hits here. So d6 plus 2. Okay. 6. So it is possible to try and rush down single target foes, provided they have a low fighting prowess and miss a lot. So Alwyn will also attack. Hits again. 2d6 plus 1. Also a lack of armor on this folk. That is tragic. Tragic damage roll there, but okay. 13. Ariadne will prepare the sword thrust spell again. I should have taken it off last time, but we end up with the same stats. The 7-in-1 will randomize left to right. Goes for Remy. Good, he's the hardest target. What am I doing? I can just go back up to Sir Alwyn's damage roll. 7 is a hit. Oh dear. That's 15 points of damage. Remy has an armor rating of 2, takes 13, leaves him with 11. We need to be more cautious about him attacking now. But we're going to do it, because we reckon we can put that down. That is a hit, thanks to his magic sword. So 1d6 plus 2 damage. He chops a good chunk out of that. We hear the thunk of the blade sinking in. It's now down to 6 endurance points. Brother Kern will try bash it one with his staff. Wood on wood. Wood on wood hits. Wood on wood does 3 points of damage. There we go. 3 endurance points remain. And so Alwyn will probably finish this off. Yep. 2d6 plus 1. Rolls a 6. And defeats the 7-in-1. At which point, we obviously get to turn to section 243. Bearing in mind we may be completely unaware of its true nature. The monster sways and suddenly cracks apart like a nut. Another idol, slightly smaller but otherwise identical, steps from within the broken husk. You have an unpleasant inkling now as to why it is called the 7-in-1. So we'll arrange our heroes in a slightly different... Okay, so we are aligning with this square here. 1, 2, I believe that is our... Nope. So there we are. We've had no chance to rest. And the new 7-in-1 has different stats. There's a fighting prowess of 7 this time. Its damage, however, has been reduced to 4 dice plus 2. Its awareness remains 5, psychic ability remains 9, endurance is 40 instead of 45. And if we reset and we check the new battle boards, 243, it's going to be around here. Yes. Psychic ability still remains at 8. Everything else remains the same. So, Remy will step in and attack because he can. That's a hit. That is 6 points of damage, knocks it down to 34. Brother Kern will likewise engage. Hits. 4 points of damage, knocks it down to 30. So Alwyn will step in with the magical axe of Heraklos and attempt to chop a big chunk out of it, which he does. Make that chunk big, please, game. 9 points of damage. Excellent. Takes us down to 21. So far, so good, right? And Ariadne will attempt to unleash her Sword Thrust spell that she had not cast previously. Succeeds. Oh, wow. 8 points of damage. Knocks it down to 13, so it still gets a turn. It will randomize top to bottom. It goes for Remy. Of course it does. 2d6 plus 1, because he's a bit hard to hit. An 8 is a miss. Mercifully, because of his roguish dodging techniques, Remy has avoided harm. We want to be careful about that. And it's his turn. You know what? We're going to quick thinking this, take an attack at the end of the round and attack at the beginning of the next one. Because we want to pile in the damage here. That's a hit. For 6 points of damage. And then, for the start of the new round, a hit for 8 points of damage defeats for 7 in 1. So now, the Sword Thrust spell is gone and not prepared. However, of course, we have only defeated 2. And we could use the Wand of Fire at any time, or the Orb of Fire, once we realise what we're up against. Your worst fears are confirmed. The second shell breaks open and you are faced with yet another murderous wooden monster. This third one, fighting prowess of 8, damage is reduced to 4 dice plus 1. Again, we're following the established plus 2, then up or down a die. Psychic ability of 9, awareness 5, 35 endurance. And our deployment is back to this. And 243. 240 not included in this document, but that's okay, because we know it's basically the same. I was interested to see if the psychic ability had remained an 8 again. Okay, so we'll have Remy shoot an arrow. Why not? He's got all 6, and it's safer than going in and getting hit again. So magic bow misses. Perhaps Brother Kern should fire an arrow as well. That way our warrior can take the brunt of the attack. That also misses. Speaking of warriors, let's send in Sir Alwyn. Oh, I was going to say, it's nice that the warrior has a tie with the Knights Capella. While it's not absolutely indicated that he was a member of their order in the past, he has worked with them before, and he has the contacts to arrange for a letter of introduction. And he's from a noble line, so that is probably good enough. But there's also talk of them having done a few things together in the past, and it feels very brotherly, very camaraderie, it's good stuff. Okay, 8 points is 8 points. 27. Excellent stuff. Right. Ariadne will prepare a... We'll go for another white fire for now. Not white fire. Sword Thrust. And the 7 in 1 has only one target. That misses. We might as well have Remy shoot another arrow. And we may just get a hit. We do. 1d6 plus 1 for his magical bow and arrows, right? Yes. 4 whole points knocks it down to a 23. So as you can see, the various incarnations of a 7-in-1, as they grow smaller, they have less endurance, but greater and less damage, but more fighting prowess. And I think after a certain point, the fighting prowess starts to go down again, and the awareness begins to increase, so it gets faster as well. Brother Kern will come in and try and strike at it with his staff. There is a reason for this. I'm splitting damage. 4 points. Not ideal, but we'll take it. And the warrior will, of course, hack at it with the magic axe again. It's wood, split wood. That will just hit for 10 points of damage. 10 points at this point is huge. And if we can pull off this sword thrust spell, we are golden. It might, however, be better if we do not. So, 2d6 plus 2 fails by 1. So the 7-in-1 will randomize top to bottom. Chooses for warrior. Hits. Oh dear. For 4 plus 1. Right. 18 points. Less his armor rating of 3 is 15. Knocks him down to 13 endurance points. This will matter in the not too distant future. Remy will come in with his sword and attack because we're trying to put this thing down very quickly now. That is a miss. Brother Kern will strike with his staff. And that is also a miss. I need to remove that spell. There we go. So Alwyn will chop at it with the axe. And hit. Ooh, this might not be enough. 4 points, not enough. Knocks it down to 5 endurance, at which point the 7-in-1 will choose a new target, top to bottom. It goes for Remy. So 2d6 plus 1. With its now increased fighting prowess, that is a hit. That is not going to look good for Remy. That's 14 points. Take off 2 for armor is 12. That takes Remy out of the fight. Bam. We'll just pop him there in the darkness for a bit and remove him from the initiative order. Ariadne will prepare another sword thrust spell. It would be nice to choose a different spell, but there's a reason why I'm going for sword thrust, which is that there is a 4th one inside here, right? Brother Kern will try and strike it with his staff. Now, the fact that we can lose heroes over the course of the adventure is another reason why we might not have been able to translate the scroll and learn that this thing is 7 monsters. He does 5 points with his staff, takes it out. But of course, that's not the end of it. And by this point, interestingly, the white fire spell and volcano spray don't have the same effect. They're not as much fire. It's not as concentrated. There's not it's like being flicked with the edge of the flame instead of fully engulfed in it. The 4th incarnation of the creature struggles out of the wreck of its predecessor and strikes at you with club-like fists. Now this is where it's going to get rather nasty, because he's taken there, she's there. This version of a 7-in-1 has a fighting prowess of 9. I know one of them has a fighting prowess of 12. Psychic ability remains 8 in the new books. It's down to 4 dice. Yeah, so 5, 6, 7. The 5th one would be fighting prowess 10. The 6th one fighting prowess 11. The 7th one fighting prowess 12. But with ever descending endurance points. So this one's now on 30 endurance and just 4 dice damage. But it's reached the point where that fighting prowess of 9 is a serious threat. Let's do it. We want to prevent it from striking Ariadne. So Brother Kern comes in and attacks. Misses. And of course, again, we're doing this without resting. So Alwyn comes in with the magical axe, chops it up a lot. 2d6 plus 1 damage, 8 points, knocks that 30 down to a 22 straight away. Ariadne attempts her sword thrust spell. 2d6 plus 2. Did she try and cast it in the previous fight? Well, no, it's a new fight anyway, so it probably resets. A 9 is going to fail. The 7 in 1 will randomize top to bottom. Goes for the sage. Lands a hit with its newly improved fighting prowess. 21. At which we are grateful that Brother Kern has his free additional armor, his armor rating of free from the shielding charm, so he only takes 18 damage and lives on 2 endurance points. He will not be attacking for the rest of this prolonged combat encounter. He will be defending. So Alwyn can... 22, no, he has to defend as well. Ariadne attempts on 2d6 plus 1 to blast it. Well, no, with the sword thrust spell. Succeeds. 14 points. Takes it down to 8 endurance. And clears her spell. So she is back up to a psychic ability of 8. And still has the immediate deliverance spell prepared, which she will not be able to cast again for the rest of the adventure. If I'd gone in on this without the immediate deliverance spell prepared, things might have gone differently, but I was busy running away from the demons, and I was going to use the heroes in the state they were at this point of the adventure, not coming in with a clean slate on a different playthrough. The 7 and 1 will randomize a target. Goes for the warrior. Hits. Oh dear. 16 damage, minus 3 is going to be 13. Oh, takes him out of the fight. That is going to be brutal. Okay. We'll pop him over here in the darkness as well. Brother Kern defends. Ariadne prepares a spell. We'll go for the same sword for our spell as it's kind of reliable. At this point now, it's starting to look like we're not going to make it. And the 7 in 1 will attack because it can. That's... oh dear, it's all over. 13 damage. Takes out the sage. So she will try and cast her spell, which might just finish it off. Nope. Fails. And it lumbers over to pummel her to bits. At which point, as it lands its blow, she's going to begin wishing she had prepared the vampire spell. 8 points of damage. It rolled very low. She's got 2 on armor. 6 leaves her with 14. So she'll go to a 2d6 plus 1 casting time. 4 succeeds. 3d6 plus 3. Why am I even doing this? I think it's so low. Yeah, that takes it out. Okay. So she would then be here, wouldn't she? And we'll clear initiative. We'll take off her... yeah, and sword thrust. Right. 382. Because there's 3 more of these to go. The idol seems unstoppable, while you are becoming more exhausted with each feint and parry. This time it has a fighting prowess of 10. Damage should be what? 3d6 plus 2? Yep. Awareness stays 5. Endurance is now down to 25. And if we compare books, we will see that the new one is probably still only psychic ability 8. $361 is set. Okay. Oh, right. We've got ahead of ourselves a bit here. 382. That's the 7th version, which has fighting prowess of 12 and only does a mere 3d6 damage. Yeah, it's horrible. So, yeah, 25 plus 2. Yeah. So, Ariadne goes first and prepares the vampire spell in case she lives long enough to try to cast it. This is a desperate measure, as it's something like a complexity level 4 spell. The 7 in 1 moves into attack. And the worst part of this is that she can't defend herself if she wants to be able to cast spells and win the fight, or even damage it in any way. The defense option is only worth it when there's at least one other hero in the party. So 3d6 plus 2 is 15 damage. She takes 2 on the armor and goes down to 1 endurance point. Wow. And then, in the next round, she attempts to cast the vampire spell, which is complexity level 3. You never know. She may roll incredibly well. If she didn't have the spell of servile enfrailment prepared, that would have succeeded. So the 7 in 1 raises its mighty fist to crush her. And it does so quite amply. With 15 more damage, yes, she's out of the fight. So there we go. The 7 in 1 wins, but we got it down to version 5. Yeah. So then, of course, 556. Oh, is it 536? Yeah. Not 56. It progresses to fighting prowess 11, 3 dice plus 1 damage, endurance 20. And then the final version, at 361, has a fighting prowess of 12, which will only miss if we are defending, and a mere 15 endurance, and is down to 3 damage dice. It is a... And then if that is defeated, 356... We're then asked if we know who Hassan is and have met Fatima, and then it pretty much progresses as if we burned it to death. Speaking of progression, however, the other thing I didn't do last time was read the auto-kill section for if we lose part of the blood sword. So let's go look at that. Somebody has it. Now, where is it? Because it's a... I think it's 475, this book. Oh, wait. It's old versions of the heroes, so... Oh, no, that's from after this fight, when the blood sword has been reforged, so... Let's see. Okay. So after the enchanter section, maybe? It's in there somewhere. Let's see, 475 or 425, I think. I think 475 may have been book 2. 70... No, this is it. You are floating in a timeless void. Eternal space surrounds you, a thing without depth, colour or form. There is no sound. How long have you been here? Time means nothing in this stark void, but your last mortal memories were of relinquishing the jewelled bloodsword scabbard. The giant image of the scabbard floats against the darkness before you. Taunting laughter echoes all around you, gradually filling the emptiness with a sense of time and staggering sighs. The image of the lost scabbard disappears. 5 majestic lords appear, huge and mighty. Their presence overwhelms your senses. They radiate light. Each is robed in a single colour, shining with so agonizing an absolute of that colour that your vision stings and swims. On one side you behold a lord in scarlet, on another a lord in cerulean blue. A third is clad in emerald green, another in gold, and the last of the dread lords is wrapped in scintillant white. The Red Lord speaks. And I believe they speak in that order. In a place where mortal voices, vovos of strong lords, spoke to the shapers of men's fate, that place was called in mortal tongue Spite. The walls of Spite towered high, continues the Blue Lord, for it was not yet at the time that feuds should crack the keystones, nor at that time had ravening flame tasted the ramparts. This feels like the failure section from book 2, but I swear it read slightly differently in the physical book I've got upstairs. This long endured, says the Lord in green. Those who could speak of the first days of Middle-earth spoke their lore to mortal ear. Mortal words, vovos of lords most wise, were counted by all from shore to shore as inviolate commands. It is the turn of the Gold Lord. The brutish thing that lives in the darkness of the belly then stirred. The cursed creatures that drives oath-brother to war with oath-brother, that hellish hate that eats from within. From 60, now only 5 await the day that is to come, pronounces the Lord in white. The images grow dim. From this pernicious place we shall go. We shall escape the foul fastness of the void and return into the mortal land. No thing on Middle-earth now opposes us. The 5 lords fade away and you are left alone in the void. Let's actually open up book 2. Go check section 425. Because I seem to recall... I think I know what it was. I seem to recall it feeling more prophetic. Okay, this is long endurance. So... Yes, it is the same. The same text. It feels in book 3... In book 2, it becomes more obvious that it's tying in with book 1, but viewing the book 3 in isolation without the first 2, and getting to the part in the back that explains that the 5 ancient magi are associated with constellations in the sky, I seem to remember more of a feeling of astrology and prediction and foreshadowing, like a prophecy, in the failure section in book 3. It was not as obvious that they are telling the story of the background of book 1 when I didn't have the first 2 books, but there is the warning that, you know, they've gathered power, there's only 5 now, they're going to leave this place, and it feels pretty serious. I suppose we'll find out what happens next in book 4, which I should be recording pretty soon. Now, I like the style and feel of adventure in this one. does focus very heavily on avoiding hazards and carefully just, avoiding all fights. More so than the previous 2 books. I don't know if the fights in Book 4 are going to be as heavily devastating and weighted against the players as many of the ones in Book 3. But it feels like we're very much playing a sort of thief in a exotic foreign story of cunning, stealing, theft and deception. And Book 4, where we descend down into the underworld, that will be an excuse for some, again, incredibly powerful fights. Now, the other thing, of course, is we're going in with a party of 4 heroes. If I go in with a party of less than 4 heroes, who are higher ranked with more experience, things may balance out slightly differently. I seem to remember a party of 3 heroes being quite fun with friends some time ago. 2, you start missing out on a few too many options. So I've only been doing the party of 4 balance experience, where everything is weighted heavily against the heroes because they need to work as a team to survive, which is often done through judicious abuse of the defense option in combat when someone is too badly hurt to continue a fight. And trying to keep everyone alive for the next fight, time and time again. So, yeah, Book 4 is going to be fun and interesting. I'll be recording that soon. It's pretty much going to be blind. As I said, I've skimmed through, I've seen a few words, seen a few pictures, haven't actually sat down and tried to play it yet. So pretty much an almost blind playthrough. The same applies to Book 5. And I'll look forward to seeing you guys there when I get to play it. Alright. Thanks everyone for watching. I'm not sure what else I should say about this book. I think maybe it could have... So... Yeah. Could have leaned a little more into the Tartashim culture, although it does so heavily enough, and it is presented in such a way that it's not overly intrusive. It's there for you to notice and experience, but it's not like thrown in your face all the time. So yeah, in that regard, it probably did a good job. When it comes to the lands of the dead, there may not be that much culture, although the dead themselves may come from cultures all over the world, so we're probably going to get some Mocanians or Fulanders again, because they seem to have been in every book so far. And also because in Book 4 on the map, let's take a little look at that actually before we dive right in, right? We have a map. We have You Are Here, which I presume is our starting point. Burrow Downs instead of Barrow Downs. Typhon's Ring, which looks like a horseshoe on a stick. Village. It's just called Village. It's got no name. River Lethe. River Lethe is from Greek and Roman mythology. It's like Greek name for River Styx, I think. The Waters of Forgetfulness. We have Ironwood, Gate of Mist. This then could be a whole load of mist. Spire of Summoning. Is that Spire or Shrine of Summoning? Yeah, I think that's probably Shrine. Pool of Remembrance. If we arrive here having forgotten everything and need to get to the Pool of Remembrance to remind ourselves of something. Oh, River Lethe. Yeah, okay, got it. River Acheron. That's like very French, isn't it? Acheron. River... Coxitus? Is that? The Unburied Dead. They may all just be standing there in a large group. Angvar's Mead Hall. I think I saw that that's a little bit like Hierot from Beowulf. Which gives me a feeling that we may be gathering enemies for some final conflict again, as we were in Book 2. Forest of Night's Abyss, that's going to be pretty bad, I imagine. Spheno's Tower. Sphinatus. Sphino is either one of the two sisters of Medusa or one of the three Furies. I see what appear to be little bird wings over above it, so if it's the Furies, that would make sense. The Screaming Mountains and Beyond Death. We have a cave, a waterfall. So a map of Sheol, not to scale. The not to scale is important. So I imagine there's also some kind of whale here swimming around. I imagine that will not be a part of the adventure, but it would be interesting if it was. So I imagine we're going to start here, explore this section. We're going to be looking for Icon the Ungodly. He's probably up here in the cave with what looks like some kind of towers in front of it, or being punished in Spheno's tower, because we need to recover the blood sword from the ancient spirits who stole it away. We get a nice little story so far recap, which is very helpful for people who haven't played the first 3 adventures of the series. And I'll be recording that either in sort of 10 or 15 minutes time, or like tomorrow night. Probably tomorrow night, to be honest, but we'll see. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. I've had fun. I hope you guys have too. We're all heroes. Next time I put up another Bloodsword episode, let's be heroes together. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye for now.